Hey, good morning. Today is another one of our first fives. Today we're looking at the story from Acts chapter 12. That quite literally is just a miraculous story. It's a miraculous story of Peter's escape from prison. And it's one of those stories that makes me want to ponder for a minute what it might look like to pray expectantly for God to do something. And what might happen if we saw God do something miraculous in our midst. What might we do in response to that? How might we live? How might we be more faithful? How might we listen more to the sake of others? How might we begin to be the kind of people who reflect this great faith in what God can and will do, especially what he can do in us and through us? And so here's the story from Acts chapter 12, and we'll let the scripture just speak for itself today. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this pleased the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. This happened during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for the public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. "Quick, get up," he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, "Put on your clothes and sandals," and Peter did so. "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me." The angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, "Now I know without a doubt that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating." When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter is at the door." "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said, "It must be his angel." But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord had brought him out of prison. "Tell James and the brothers about this," he said, and then he left for another place. Now, what I love about this story are 2 things that always jump out to me. One, I love Rhoda going to the door and being so excited that she doesn't let Peter in, because that's just a great picture in my mind. But the other part I love about this is it wasn't really Peter's prayers that saved him. It was the prayers of everybody else. You see, all these people were praying for Peter, not for their own benefit, but for the benefit of God's work in the world. And so I can't imagine what might happen if you and I spent so much time praying for the sake of others. It's called intercessory prayer. What might happen if our lives were wrapped up in living out this idea that we could pray on behalf of other people? What if we prayed for God to be at work in their lives? What if you and I prayed every single day that maybe just this week, as the church gathers, whether it's in person or online, that someone who doesn't yet know Jesus might come to know his saving grace and his extravagant love? What might happen if you and I prayed prayers of intercession for the sake of others? Now, I know many of us pray for our family or for our friends, but what if we prayed even beyond that? What if we prayed for God to begin to do a greater work in our world than we have ever seen? Now maybe, just maybe, if you and I would commit to that type of prayer, maybe we would begin to see that happen in the world around us. And so here's my challenge for you and a challenge for me. Let's be people of prayer. The kind of prayer that might literally make the chains fall off of people, and the oppressed might be set free. And God might do a work in our hearts so that sin no longer reigns, but freedom in Christ does. And that's my prayer for you and I today, that we would be the kind of people who pray those kinds of prayers. And we'll catch you next time for another First Five.